week we watched Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the TV series by Francesca Sloane and Donald Glover.
I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, of course, if you know me, I'm a big like Donald Glover fan. Whether it's music or his projects, he showcases that he is a really diverse performer and actor, being able to step in different roles and stuff like that. Of course, Atlanta is very surrealist, so that kind of fit his wheelhouse. And we kind of got small glimpses of his action kind of acting due to his role in Solo. So he kind of this allowed him to expand upon that part. I enjoyed the series. I thought it was a wonderful reinterpretation and a slash adaptation of this IP.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I thought this was a brilliant kind of continuation of the Mr. and Mrs. Smith universe. I thought that Donald Glover and Maya Erskine are wonderful. Like I feel like their chemistry really held this down. Like they were so believable as two people meeting, falling in love, and then having kind of all the ups and downs of a marriage. The writing for me was like incredibly naturalistic. Like it really feels like these are real people who exist.
People were kind of interested, but then when they saw the trailer, they're like, "Oh no, Brad and Angelina, this is trying to replace that." Like people were so hard on nostalgia for a project that came out in 2001 well, 2005 when you were like 15 years old, like 15, 14 years
Mhm.
old. You got to let that go. I mean, because especially nowadays in Hollywood, they're reintroducing a whole bunch of prior IPs. So you have to at least let these things have a chance to breathe on its own and watch it before you instantly start deriding it without seeing any content or just seeing the trailers and not getting the whole picture of the project.
That whole Phoebe Waller-Bridge issue, like, that went on in the beginning, like, that's what I heard about initially was that, like, they were gonna do it together, and then she dropped out because of creative differences, and honestly, I can't even imagine her being in this. Now that I've seen it, I'm like, I could not have imagined Phoebe being in this role, like, Donald and Maya have, like, a different type of chemistry. I just buy it. I don't know if I would have been able to really buy him and Phoebe as this thrown together couple that's kind of making it work and actually fall in love, like, I don't know if I could buy that. And I also love the Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie movie, like, that is one of my movies. I can quote that movie, like, I watch it all the time on DVD. But I think that this does such a better job at that story, mainly because you have time to really kind of explore the dynamics.
We spent like an hour almost with them in the beginning, meeting each other, and we also got smidges of the backstory, and then we got their first mission and their whole conflict. Well, the first episode is a meeting, and the second episode is their mission. So we had an hour of that minor character development to get to know who these people are. So when they actually jump to them being more adapt, we it wasn't a jolt.
I mean, the pacing isn't in some places was kind of a little bit draggy, not and that's probably, like, my only complaint about the show. There were some scenes where, like, it went on a little too long or it coulda had some cuts here and there. But in terms of, like, actually, like, the time spent in investing in the characters, I feel like that was well done.
Like the one that
Mhm.
probably lingered a bit too much for me was when he's going through the staircase and she's on the elevator, and it kind of drags on like a bit too long.
What I loved the most was how they talked about race
Hmm.
because and this is a pet peeve of mine. I feel like whenever you see interracial couples in films, it's always just like it's never a discussion. Like it's just like, okay, yeah, well, we're together. And it's like, okay, so we're not going to discuss that. Like it feels so unnatural because it's like
Hmm.
obviously you're having these discussions in real life. Like are we supposed to pretend like we're colorblind or something like that? Like I really like how they made that not a center point of it, but that it is something that is a part of their relationship that they do have to like discuss.
Yeah. And I think that comes from obviously when you have the talent behind the screen and also writing the project are versed in experience because Donald himself is in an interracial marriage. Like I don't think a white writer could write the scene where they're all or he's playing cards with other black guys and they're kind of talking about interaction with the police and kind of how guys kind of go off the tough like and talking about women and stuff like that. I like those kind of cartoons. I don't think a white writer or a writer who hasn't been in that kind of environment would work.
And I actually really like the therapy episode just because it's like there are so many issues between these two that it feels like we kind of needed to like get that out. The writing was the best part. The writing in Donald Glover and Maya Erskine's chemistry that really just kept everything going. I like how all of the missions kind of coincided with like their development as
Yes,
married
yeah.
or as they were kind of like, come into their relationship. All of the guest stars that came on the show was so fun. Like that was so fun just to see like recognizable actors who you really like just popping up in there. My favorite was Michaela Cole. That whole situation that was really good. But also Ron Perlman when they were talking about kids and they were in Italy, great episode. That was a fantastic episode.
I like how the show is not just about the spies. Like you said it perfectly as that their missions also coincided with their growth and their transition as a relationship, which I think was the underpinning theme of the show. Like
Mhm.
relationships are like a mission. Like the ebbs and flows and how you gotta adapt and change with it, and stuff like that. It's more hyper contextualized because it's people who really did not know each other and just they're now thrown into a house and have to make it work, and then they make it work, and then the actual relationship issues come to a head once they once they're on the field.
One of my favorite scenes is when they're doing that little camping thing. So it's in a therapy episode, but when they're camping and they have that big argument
Yeah,
about he didn't read the book and
yeah,
she got upset about the book and it just took off from there.
yeah, yeah. She like for her though, them both sharing that book was a major linchpin in their relationship, and for him it was like a off comment. Like I'm jealous. So I'm just say yeah, I read the book too, and I'm just roll with it. And he did not realize that she took it to heart, like literally, which is a thing in relationships. You might think something is a minor thing, and the other person, doesn't, and then it spills into the crux of your issues because this relationship is just they're instantly thrown together. These are issues where if you're dating somebody, you've known how to work around and sort out. They didn't get all those chances as far as those red flags. They got all those red flags like back to back to back to back to back.
And to me, that was one of Donald's like best performances. Like when he just goes off and he is like hitting his hand and he's like giving it. I was like, my feelings are hurt and he's not even talking to me. Like I was like, oh, he's really good at this. Like he was really like dynamic in that moment. I was like, oh
Look,
my god.
if you, like somebody posted that scene on Twitter, and
Mm,
that's the one scene I think every kind of guy could relate to on a
it
on
felt
a
like
on a
it.
level because and it's happened where for somebody that is not take a shot but when your relationship and your girl kind of emasculates you and you like feel less than, everybody could understand that argument because it's a real argument that everybody has had with a significant other.
And I really feel like they got the essence of the original, not the original, but the remake, the Jolie Pitt remake. The essence of those characters really well. Where Jane was very similar, kind of cold, didn't seem like she was feeling much, and John was open and likable and charming. And I feel like they really got the essence of these people really well, and then were able to kind of redefine it and keep going.
So I'm looking forward to probably a second season with probably a different set of Smiths, dealing with different situations.
I feel like it could be like an anthology thing, like a White Lotus, where you just do different casts and stuff, but like
Or True
the same
Detective.
concept. Or True Detective. Like I
Yeah.
feel like that would actually make more sense.
Hmm.
Because you've already established it in the world, like there are multiple Johns and Janes, so I feel like they could keep going if they wanted to.
Did you like that clip? Well, you can listen to the entire podcast because the 16mm Film Crew podcast is available on all major podcast platforms.